Hello. Ah, I can't hear now. I'm sorry. I changed my settings. よ。ヘッドホン。Wait a minute.
Hello.
Hello. I can hear you now. Kakita o Karango ni mo.
Wow, happy weekend to you today. How are you so
Yes.
far?
Yes, I feel happy because I'm preparing a 3-day date with my girlfriend.
Wow.
From next day.
That's good to hear.
Yes.
That's good. All right. So today, let's start your lesson. You're in a full stage revision, stage 9.
Yes.
That is 698. Okay. So let me find the last part for a moment, please.
Okay.
698. And you are, okay, here. LY. Let me find for a moment.
Of course.
LY.
Take time.
Where is it? Here. Now, what kind of people do you have most sympathy for? What kind of people do you have most sympathy for? The kind of people I have most sympathy for are those who have a serious illness,
etc.
Do you reckon you could jump up and touch the ceiling? Do you reckon you could jump up and touch the ceiling? Yes, no?
Yes.
I reckon I could jump up and touch
the ceiling.
Which airline do you reckon is the biggest in the world at the moment? Which airline do you reckon is the biggest in the world at the moment? I reckon
American Airlines
is the biggest airline in the world at the moment. Can the weather sometimes be horrible in the middle of winter? Can the weather sometimes be horrible in the middle of winter? Yes, the weather can sometimes be horrible in the middle of winter. Do you feel any anxiety about the future of the world? Do you feel any anxiety about the future of the world? Yes, no?
Yes.
I feel some anxiety about the future of the world. Why is a shopkeeper always anxious to please his customers? Why is a shopkeeper always anxious to please his customers? A shopkeeper is always anxious to please his customer. Because so that
they will come back again.
What's your most valuable personal possession? What's your most valuable personal possession? My most valuable personal possession is
my laptop I'm using now.
Good. Supposing you could entertain a famous person at your house, either a great figure in history or someone alive today, who would you choose? Supposing you could entertain a famous person at your house, either a great figure in history or someone alive today, who would you choose? Supposing I could entertain a famous person at my house, either a great figure in history or someone alive today, I
choose the world's second largest millionaire Elon Musk, or living magician Efraim Reyes, or the most beautiful actress in the Philippines, Amber.
Oh, wow. Very good.
Thank
really?
you.
Second most richest is Elon Musk?
Elon Musk.
world?
Yes. Tesla
wow.
Elon Musk.
That's good.
Thank you.
Thank you. What do we mean by the background of a picture or a photograph? What do we mean by the background of a picture or a photograph? By the background,
of a picture or a photograph,
we mean the part which is behind the main subject. Now, when students apply to go to university, are they asked questions about their personal background? When students apply to go to university, are they asked questions about their personal background? Yes, down.
Yes.
When students apply to go to university, they are asked questions about their personal background. What kind of activities do you apply your energy to most? What kind of activities do you apply your energy to most? The kind of activities I apply my energy to most are
learning for automation and unmanned.
I see. Does the law of the land apply to everybody? Does the law of the land apply to everybody? Yes, the law of the land applies to everybody. Do you know what you have to do to apply for a new passport? Do you know what you have to do to apply for a new passport? Yes, no.
No.
I don't know what I have to do to apply for a new passport. Give me a sentence with the word highly. Give me a sentence with the word highly. It's highly probable that the Browns won't come today. Name me a profession that is both highly respected and highly paid. Name me a profession that is both highly respected and highly paid. A profession that is both highly respected and highly paid
is a doctor.
Now, which is one of the most ancient civilization in the history of the world? Which is one of the most ancient civilization in the history of the world? One of the most ancient civilizations in the history of the world is the Egyptian civilization, the Babylonian civilization, etc. How many degrees are there in a right angle? How many degrees are there in a right angle? There are 90
degrees
in a right angle. What do you think the temperature is today? What do you think the temperature is today? I think the temperature is about 23 degrees centigrade
today.
If a student gets an A grade in an exam, is it a good result or a bad result? If a student gets an A grade in an exam, is it a good result or a bad result? If a student gets an A grade in an exam, that's a good result. Give me a sentence with the word somewhat. Give me a sentence with the word somewhat. I'd say he was somewhat lacking in common sense. On average, are Scandinavian people somewhat taller than people in the rest of Europe? On average, are Scandinavian people somewhat taller than the people in the rest of Europe? Yes, on average. Scandinavian people are somewhat taller than people in the rest of Europe. Give me a sentence with the words at all. Give me a sentence with the words at all. It's very strange. I've worked hard all day. I've worked hard all day. But don't feel tired at all. Now, what does the idiom "why on earth" mean? What does the idiom "why on earth" mean? The idiom "why on earth" means a very strong form of why. Give me an example, please. Give me an example, please. I just can't understand why on earth they got married if they don't like each other very much. I see. Good. Now, how can we often use a noun as an adjective in English? How can we often use a noun as an adjective in English? We can often use a noun as an adjective in English by putting it immediately before another noun. Another noun. Give me 3 examples, please. Give me 3 examples, please. Window cleaner. Cat basket. School bag. What's a water bottle? What's a water bottle? A water bottle is a bottle that is made to carry water. What kind of plate do we eat dinner from? What kind of plate do we eat dinner from? We eat dinner from a dinner plate. Now that you are at this stage of your English studies, do you think you'd be able to travel abroad confident of making yourself understood in the language? Now that you're at this stage of your English studies, do you think you'd be able to travel abroad confident of making yourself understood in the language? Yes, no.
Yes.
Now that I'm at the stage of my English studies, I think I'd be able to travel abroad confident of making myself understood in the language. Now, if a friend of yours wants to go to one cinema, you want to go to another, you can't agree about which to go to, what do you do? If a friend of yours wants to go to one cinema and you want to go to another and you can't agree about which to go to, what do you do? If a friend of mine wants to go to one cinema and I want to go to another and we can't agree about which to go to, we go to different ways. Okay, good.
Thank you.
Now, do you agree that life was better in the past than it is today? Do you agree that life was better in the past than it is today? Yes, no?
No.
I don't agree
that
life was better in the past than it is today. Would you agree to do an extra 3 hours of English today? Would you agree to do an extra 3 hours of English today? Yes, no?
No.
I wouldn't agree to do an extra 3 hours of English today. Would you agree to a plan that might get you into trouble with the police? Would you agree to a plan that might get you into trouble with the police? No.
No.
I wouldn't agree to a plan that might get me into trouble with the police. When you don't agree with other people, what do you do? When you don't agree with other people, what do you do? When I don't agree with other people,
I answer no once, and then I ask what they really want to do.
Good.
Thank you.
Now, what do you think ought to be done with drivers who don't take care while driving and consequently run people over? What do you think ought to be done with drivers who don't take care whilst driving and consequently run people over? I think that drivers who don't take care whilst driving and consequently run people over ought to
be revoked their driver's license.
When you were a child, who took care of you when you were ill? When you were a child, who took care of you when you were ill? When I was a child,
my parents
took care of me when I was ill. If you went for dinner at friend's house but didn't care much for the food, would you still tell them it was good? If you went for a dinner at friend's house but didn't care much for the food, would you still tell them it was good? Yes, no?
Yes.
If I went for dinner at a friend's house but didn't care much for the food, I'd still tell them it was good. What does the expression "I dare say you're right" mean? What does the expression "I dare say you're right" mean? The expression "I dare say you're right" means I think you're probably right. What kind of jobs would you say require the most daring? What kind of jobs would you say require the most daring? I'd say the kind of jobs which require the most daring would be
a doctor.
Now, in dry countries, do people try to conserve water as much as possible? In dry countries, do people try to conserve water as much as possible? Yes. In dry countries, people try to conserve water as much as possible. When you eventually finish studying English, do you think you will be eager to start learning another language immediately? When you eventually finish studying English, do you think you'll be eager to start learning another language immediately? Yes, no?
Yes.
When I eventually finish studying English, I think I'll be eager to start learning another language immediately. Why do we rub our hands together in cold weather? Why do we rub our hands together in cold weather? We rub our hands together in cold weather because it makes them warmer. How can we rub out a pencil mark on a piece of paper? How can we rub out a pencil mark on a piece of paper? We can rub out a pencil mark on a piece of paper by using a rubber. Now, where does that window face onto? Where does that window face onto? This window faces onto the street, a courtyard, etc. If you found yourself face to face with a killer with a knife in his hand, what did you do? If you found yourself face to face with a killer with a knife in his hand, what did you do? If I found myself face to face with a killer with a knife in his hand, I'd
run away from him as fast as possible.
All religions in the world have a God. All religions in the world have a God. No, not all religions in the world have a God. What can the word "thus" mean? What can the word "thus" mean? The word "thus" can mean therefore, or in this way. Give me an example of each, please. Give me an example of each, please. She is ill and thus will not be able to attend the meeting. The mother cut the sandwich into small pieces, thus making it easier for her young son to eat. If the cost of living suddenly rose and you needed to economize, what changes would you make in your life? If the cost of living suddenly rose and you needed to economize, what changes would you make in your life? If the cost of living suddenly rose and I needed to economize,
I'd change my home from Tokyo to a local city in my life.
I see.
Thank you.
Now, does my job involve correcting your mistakes? Does my job involve correcting your mistakes? Yes, your job involves correcting my mistakes. Have you ever been involved in organizing a surprise party for a friend or family member? Have you ever been involved in organizing a surprise party for a friend or family member? Yes, no?
Yes.
I've been involved in organizing a surprise party for a friend or a family member. Do innocent people ever get attacked in the streets of your hometown? Do innocent people ever get attacked in the streets of your hometown? Yes, no.
Yes.
Innocent people sometimes get attacked in the streets of my hometown. What's another word for hardly? What's another word for hardly? Another word for hardly is scarcely. Give me an example, please. Give me an example, please. He scarcely knew anyone at the party. So he went home early. What do I mean if I say that I have scarcely any money? What do I mean if I say that I have scarcely any money? If you say that you have scarcely any money, you mean that you have almost no money. Why does food become scarce in wartime? Why does food become scarce in wartime? Food becomes scarce in wartime because there aren't enough people to work on the farms or in the factories. Do you think it's fair to judge people on first impressions? Do you think it's fair to judge people on first impressions? Yes, no.
No.
I don't think it's fair to judge people on first impressions. If you held a dinner party and served food that had been cooked in a microwave, would it make a good impression on your guests? If you held a dinner party and served food that had been cooked in a microwave, would it make a good impression on your guests? No.
No.
If I held a dinner party and served food that had been cooked in a microwave, it wouldn't make a good impression on my guests. What does a dog do with a bone? What does a dog do with a bone? A dog buries a bone in the ground. What is a cemetery? What is a cemetery? A cemetery is a place where people are buried when they die. What angers you more than anything else? What angers you more than anything else?
Mother or mind control angers me
more than anything else. Does it anger you when an airline makes an additional charge for luggage? Does it anger you when an airline makes additional charge for luggage? Yes, no.
No.
It doesn't anger me when an airline makes an additional charge for luggage. What do you think is the best way to insult a person? What do you think is the best way to insult a person? I think the best way to insult a person is
to do what the person you want to insult doesn't want to be the most.
Yes, that's true. And if a foreign person said something negative to you about your country, would you consider it an insult? If a foreign person said something negative to you about your country, would you consider it an insult? Yes, no.
No.
If a foreign person said something negative to me about my country, I wouldn't consider it an insult. What does the idiom for heaven's sake mean? What does the idiom for heaven's sake mean? The idiom for heaven's sake means a very strong form of please. Give me an example, please. Give me an example, please. For heaven's sake. Don't do that again. Or I'll be very angry. Good.
Thank you.
Now we have here in English, if a verb is followed immediately by another verb, what form must the second verb be? In English, if a verb is followed immediately by another verb, what form must the second verb be? In English, if a verb is followed immediately by another verb, the second verb must be either an infinitive or a gerund. Tell me some verbs that are followed by an infinitive, please. Tell me some verbs that are followed by an infinitive, please. Ask. Agree. Refuse.
Manage.
Tell me some verbs that are followed by a gerund, please. Tell me some verbs that are followed by a gerund, please. Deny. Avoid. Practice. Miss. Is the verb promise followed by an infinitive or a gerund? Is a verb promise followed by an infinitive or a gerund? The verb promise is followed by an infinitive. Give me an example, please. Give me an example, please. He promised to try harder
next time.
Is a verb consider followed by an infinitive or a gerund? Is a verb consider followed by an infinitive or a gerund? The verb consider is followed by a gerund. Give me an example, please. Give me an example, please. You should consider buying a new car. Why do you suppose some people, especially children, are afraid of the dark? Why do you suppose some people, especially children, are afraid of the dark? I suppose
some people, especially children, are afraid of the dark
because they imagine things
that are not there.
Why are some people more afraid that they might get killed if they travel by plane than by other means of transport? Why are some people more afraid that they might get killed if they travel by plane than by other means of transport? Some people are more afraid that they might get killed if they travel by plane than by other means of transport because a plane crash is front page news. Give me an example of the word afraid used in an apology. Give me an example of the word afraid used in an apology. I'm afraid. I can't help you. For what purpose does a cat use its whiskers? For what purpose does a cat use its whiskers? A cat uses its whiskers to measure the width of a gap in the fence or a hedge to see if it is possible to get through if it is possible to get through the gap without using force and making a lot of noise. Do you think it's a good idea for students to have a gap year between finishing school and starting university? Do you think it's a good idea for students to have a gap year between finishing school and starting university? Yes, now?
Yes.
I think it's a good idea for students to have a gap year between finishing school and starting university. Why?
Because in modern society, just going to university is not enough to make us safe for the rest of our life.
Good.
Thank you.
Now, do we need to mind the gap between the train and the edge of the platform at some stations? Do we have to mind the gap between the train and the edge of the platform at some stations? Yes, we have to mind the gap between the train and the edge of the platform at some stations. What's a hall? A hall is a large room. Give me some examples of different types of hall, please. Give me some example of different types of hall, please. Entrance hall, etc. What's a town hall? A town hall is a large building that is used for local government and public meetings. What is a pool? A pool is a small amount of liquid that has connected in one place. Collected in one place.
Okay.
Thank you. Give me some examples, please. A pool of water. A pool of blood, etc. What are the advantages of an indoor swimming pool? The advantages of an indoor swimming pool is that the water can be heated more easily, and one can swim in it in any kind of weather. Now, which do you prefer, an indoor or an outdoor swimming pool? I prefer an
indoor swimming pool.
Do you spend most of your time indoors or outdoors? I spend most of
my time indoors.
Very good. Now, what do we call that joint of the leg? We call that joint of the leg a knee. On what occasions do people kneel? The occasions on which people kneel are when they say their prayers, etc. Who was the leader of the late government in your country? The leader of the late government in my country was
Shinzo Abe.
What do we mean when we speak about the late Mr. Johnson? When we speak about the late Mr. Johnson, we mean the Mr. Johnson who has recently died. Have you seen any good films at the cinema lately? Yes, now?
No.
I haven't seen any good films at the cinema lately. Do many women like to match their handbags with their shoes? Do many women like to match their handbags with their shoes? Yes, many women like to match their handbags with their shoes. Do you think a small man who was good at judo would be a match for a big man who knew how to box? Do you think a small man who was good at judo would be a match for a big man who knew how to box? Yes, no.
Yes.
I think a small man who was good at judo would be a match for a big man who knew how to box. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Is that correct?
Yes. So we are now in 715
yes,
today.
Yes.
Okay, as always,
okay,
a very
of course.
smooth lesson.
Oh, really? Thank you.
Yes. Enjoy your date this past 3 days.
Wow, thank you, Salama. Sana all my date.
Bye. Sana all.
Happy. Bye bye. というわけで、ステージ、9のフルステージレビジョンが終わりました。この後、レッスン、部屋から退出をして、今日の、感想、アンバーの良かった点などを書いて、レッスンを終わります。現在私は、カランメソッドを中心に、毎日オンライン英会話を続けています。レベルが1から10まで含まれています。10が最も難しいレベルですね。で、カランメソッドは全部で12ステージあります。1が最も簡単で、12が最も難しいステージです。で、現在私はステージ9が終わりかけています。あと2週間ほどでステージ10が始まります。そして現在私は4人の先生を中心にしてレッスン予約をしています。で、みんな喋るのがとっても早くてですね、聞き取りが難しい先生です。3人がフィリピン人で、1人がメキシコ人です。で、彼女、イシェは、今の私にとって喋るのが超高速です。ですが、強弱をつけて表現してくれるので、ものすごく理解しやすくて、記憶にも残りやすい先生です。とっても明るくて楽しい先生です。マイクアーム付きオーバーイヤーヘッドセットを使ってくれているので、とても聞き取りやすい先生です。エンジェルは、さっきのイシェよりはゆっくり喋りますが、十分に早いです。そしてものすごく熱心で、親切で優しい先生です。で、この自己紹介動画のサムネイルとは違って、マイクアーム付きのオーバーイヤーヘッドセットを使っています。で、彼女アンバーもかなり高速です。で、彼女のリンキングサウンドはとても美しいです。つい真似したくなります。で、彼女もマイクアーム付きオーバーイヤーヘッドセットを使っています。で、最後のジャクリーンは私にとって最も聞き取りが難しくて、シャドーイングも難しいです。コピーですね。で、4人の中で1人だけスペイン語が母国語です。で、時差が14時間あるので、予約を取るのがすごく難しい先生ですね。取りたいんですけどね。はい。真逆なんですね。で、とても流暢で美しい発音なので、タイミングが合えばぜひ予約したい先生です。彼女だけ、マイクアームはなしのカナル型イヤホンを使っています。で、まとめると、今ですね、忍者が木の芽を飛び越え続ける訓練のようなイメージでいます。で、私のオンライン英会話でも自然と、最初の頃は聞き取りが難しかった先生とだけレッスンをするようになっているなと気づきました。つまり、自分のリスニング能力が成長していることにも気づきました。やる気がさらに強くなっているこの頃です。